Welcome back to the Yoga Chat. I'm your host, Montana,
I'm your host, May. How
and
do I
we're
say
so
it like that?
excited. Yay! We're
Hi,
so
May.
excited to bring an amazing guest on today, the one and only Beachhead, also known as Brad Chedwick.
Bread
Brad,
Jedwick.
yeah, Brad Chedwick. Brad Chedwick. Brad has been practicing yoga for 3 years. He actually knows which tracks for him his very first day, which was November 16th, 2021. He's from Pittsburgh. He's living in Wexford currently. And a fun fact about Brad is that he can furrow his brow and holds a bill solidly between the furrows. So you're definitely gonna have to show us that at some point. But welcome, Brad. How are you?
Hi, welcome. Thanks for having me. I'm doing well. Happy to be here and excited to be on this journey with you.
Same,
Where's
same.
your tie? I was promised a
Listen,
tie.
May, the tie
We're just
was
gonna go
coming.
straight into it.
Listen, I'll go
Where's
So
get
your fucking tie?
it.
I wanted to respond. Well, all of our listeners, you'll understand how we know each other in a second, but we were texting before this, and May was like, I didn't know this was going to be a yoga chat after dark episode. Ha ha. And they're like making jokes about like, should I wear a towel? Should I wear a tie? And what's funny is Brad is about the end of this month on the 25th, he's hosting a arm balance and inversion workshop, which we'll talk about details of all of this, I promise. But I had my leadership meeting today, and apparently it's now that your picture is on the flyer, it's going around the studio like that the ladies want to sign up just because they want to see this photo in real life. And I was like, yeah, I mean, Brad's definitely a good looking guy. He feels like a brother to me. So that's just like so funny that like, and I'm like, duh, I know. And May was like, I'm gonna tell all the ladies on the lady chat
The lady chat.
that he's single, ladies. But anyways,
He
so
is single, ladies, but he's
if
a real
you're
pain in
not
the ass.
if you're not watching this on YouTube or watching the video on Spotify, turn it off right now and watch the video so you can see the face that we're talking about. Here he is.
Hubba hubba.
Here, we'll
We
get
have
you
our
close.
first hunk on the
We'll
show,
get you one of these.
everyone. Welcome.
Yeah, he's giving you a close up. Look
Hi.
at that.
All right, well, that said, Brad, what is your big three, your astrological big three? So all the ladies can know if they're compatible with you.
Oh,
I know you know
Capricorn,
this.
Virgo. You want my sun, rising, moon, or like
Yeah,
what
yeah, yeah.
specifically?
Yeah.
Sun,
Uh,
rising, and moon.
Capricorn, rising, and Virgo, and I'd have to look. You have to give me a second. I don't know off the top of my head.
You're
Aren't you
fine.
a Libra too? I thought you were like a
I think I'm a
Libra, Virgo,
Libra.
or no, Virgo sun,
Yeah.
Capricorn rising,
Yeah. Keep going.
or
Libra
what
moon.
was it? Scorpio. Scorpio.
No, it's not Scorpio. Scorpios are a little
Don't even.
feisty.
Me and Montana are both.
Scorpio rising's right here.
Don't
Look,
start talking shit
well,
already.
well, personalities have a way of coming through regardless of if you know or not. So, yeah, let me look. We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll circle back for sure.
Yeah.
Well, so before we dive into like your background and where you come from, um, I just because we started talking about how we know each other, I want to make that a little more clear for our listeners. Brad is a avid yoga practitioner in the Pittsburgh community, goes to a lot of different studios. Very Virgo in the sense that he knows his very first class, and I'm sure, and I know he tracks all of them as well,
Oh
which is
yeah.
super cool. So we'll talk about
Spreadsheets.
that. He did his 200 hour. I don't want to speak too much for him, but he did his 200 hour at the Ohm Lounge, which we'll talk more about because you're our second person on here that's done their 200 hour at the Ohm Lounge. And he's currently in the 300 hour that I'm facilitating that May is a part of at Yoga 6. So that's how we got to know Brad, at least how I got to know Brad further than Instagram, um, in the real life. And he's just got a really cool, unique story, as do all of our guests. And so that's why we asked him to join us today. So with that little background, Brad, will you share with our listeners a little bit of like who you are, where you come from, your background, and ultimately what led you onto your yoga mat on November 16th, 2021, which is my friend Tierney and Reagan's birthday, actually. Fun fact.
That's my mom's birthday too.
Ah, And there's Scorpios. You started your yoga practice during Scorpio season and you almost just talk shit on Scorpios. So.
Listen, that's okay.
He's like, I don't care.
I don't have a comeback.
No, it's not that. It's that, we all, it's what makes you you. And that's what I love about it. Just because you're a Scorpio or I'm a Virgo or you're a Capricorn rising or your rising moon or your sun is here, it doesn't matter. That's what makes yoga so special. So to bring it back to what your question of, what brought me to yoga? I think everyone comes to yoga for different reasons. And usually there's some form of growth, whether it's spiritual, physical, emotional, mental. They're just doing it because they're fitness advocates, right? In truth, I never practiced yoga in my life. I always thought yoga was frou-frou, like it was something out of the realm of Brad. It wasn't. I used to run full marathons. I strength trained six times a week, 7 times a week, squatting hundreds of pounds, benching hundreds of pounds, and that was my outlet. Running really fast, lifting really strong, climbing really high on mountains. It wasn't so much the spiritual or the yogic philosophies that I've since learned. So life happens. There's personal things that particularly happen, like my life changed, work changed, my relationships changed, my relationship with myself changed, and I was looking for places to grow, and I believe it or not, 2 real reasons got me here. One was my general practitioner. This is a guy who's 55. He's ripped out of his mind. Said to me, Brad, do you ever practice yoga? And I said no. And this guy's been practicing yoga 20 years. And he's 55. When I first met him, he was 55. He's like 65 now. He's like, you really should try. I really believe it. And this is a guy that has known me 20 years. He's seen everything about me that you could see. He's gone through my health, any type of health issues I had with me. And he's like, dude, you really should. I think it would behoove you. At the same time, there's a book that I read during that same time, is The Body Keeps the Score. If any of you are familiar with that book, it's a fantastic book and I recommend it highly. One of the mechanisms in there for you to overcome whatever your trauma or trivia or whatever's going on in your life, right, is yoga. And my life has been surrounded by a lot of, I'm a highly sensitive person. I have a body that's running on full blast all the time. And so I've been working my whole life to build a mental capacity to be able to be in control of this. I like to call my body a Ferrari. So, I want to be in control of this machine, this highly functional, highly capable being. And I've done that. But yoga is another level on top of the work that I've done. So what happened? Well, I had been dating somebody. They were a yoga instructor. That didn't work. And what did I do? I went to her class years later, right? It was new to me. So I'm like, I'm afraid. I don't know what I'm going to get into. Am I going to be able to do this? Much like everybody else that we see on our mats as they first come in and they're looking in wide-eyed, or where do I put a mat? The first mat I bought was from Dick's Sporting Goods. It was like it was like 2 millimeters thick. It was slipping across the floor. I went to hot power yoga first, and I had no idea what I was doing. I was up against a wall in a dark room. The lights are out, and I don't know what I'm doing. I made it through the class, and I'm like, okay, thanked her for leading, and went home. A week later, I was like, you know what? I feel really good. I feel really, really good. So I went back. And then I went back again, and then again and again. And it went from once a week to twice a week to 3 times a week to 5 times to within the first month and a half. I loved it so much. I'm like, I don't know that I've only have one person here. I like to understand and understand myself. Obviously, that's why I do the learning about myself. But I want to understand that I'm practicing in the right way. Not that there's a right way, but I don't want to hurt myself. I want to be able to do this. Friends at the studio, both at Ohm Lounge and at Stray Dog in Wexford, saw that in me and said, look, there's a teacher's training that's starting at the Ohm Lounge. One of the teachers there taught the Ohm Lounge, and she's like, you should apply. So I did. Who knows if you're going to get in, whatnot. I applied. I got in. which just so happened to be its own thing. Registration was full. They closed registration, and somebody else had wanted a friend at Home Lounge. So Suzanne, who owns Home Lounge, had opened up a spot for another person. And in the hour that she opened it, it was the hour that I applied and I took this person's spot. So this other person that wanted to get in didn't get in, because even though she opened her spot, so Suze was freaking out. And I got in and fell in love. I learned how to teach. I learned how to practice. I learned over 208 asanas. I've learned about the yamas and yamas, the chakras, your fascial lines, the koshas and the doshas, and the philosophy and how to be yogic, the 8-limb path. Like, I started to chip away at something I didn't know, and in that learning, I kept practicing. So I finished my 200 and went right back to practice. And I went to practice so much that I practiced metrics. I love metrics. It's interesting to me to see who I've practiced with, but what part of the day am I keeping up with it? How do I feel? I log my emotional state before and after. Was this a good class? Was it a bad class? Did I go in being upset? How did I feel when I came out? Because if you don't think about it, it's like it didn't happen. You got to take that time to pause and reflect, like Shavasana. You got to take that time. And so I ended up the metrics 208 days in a row, like every 208 days in studio, I made it without missing. And I kept going to where I've taken over 1,000 classes in 3 years, and I'm in a 300 with you lovely ladies and the rest of our cohort. And I'm continuing to learn and I'm continuing to grow. And, they say you're in the right place. Sometimes, it's not, in your right place. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. All of us, we're exactly who we're supposed to be and where we're supposed to be. And it's never been more true to me than when I'm on my mat, when I get to experience myself and just be. I can close my eyes and just listen to cues and flow through the practice. And I know I've learned so much how to control my body and put myself in the appropriate position to actually feel myself, and that what I mean by that is that it's not feel, it's awareness. It's the awareness in the present moment. It's awareness in a time of struggle. It's awareness in a time of high stress or low stress, in different emotional states. No matter what's going on, I'm aware. And with that awareness is a power. It's a level of control. It's a level of, I can go from up here and talk really fast, or I can bring it down here and be the control that I want to be whenever I want to be. And the future, the future isn't defined. We get to do whatever we want, but I plan to keep yoga in my life for the rest of my life. I can see myself as an 80-year-old. Like, I practice with some of them that are still doing it. I want to be that person. You know how impressive it is that they're 80 in there kicking ass, handstanding, bending, curling, doing whatever they're doing, binding, side crowing. I see it. I see you. I see you, all of you. I see you teaching. I see you leading. I see you taking time for yourself and sitting in child's pose, because today that's what you need. It's exactly what you need. And I love it. I love that. I love, we're teachers, and it's not, the practice is about you. It's about you, but it's not about you, right? It's your mat. It doesn't matter what anyone else is doing ever. It's about you. It's not about you yesterday or tomorrow. It's about you right now. The past has already happened. The future hasn't happened yet. All you have is right now. And even if you want to think about the future, when the future gets here, it's really now. Like, if I say if you want to do something, you want to change your life, or you want to take control and learn more about yourself, I'm going to do that tomorrow. Well, when tomorrow gets here and you actually do that, that's really right now. So if you never do it now, you're never going to do it. So to do it now, right now.
I know a lot of people that needed to hear that right now.
Right
Like,
now.
you just get so fucking stuck. And I have a million questions to ask you, because everything you just said felt like poetry. But yeah, I'm gonna skip the shit I have to say because it's boring and stupid. But my question for you is, well, I have a lot, but the first one that comes to mind is, so like you mentioned, you're a highly sensitive person and you run high. Like, And I can relate to that. You know, your mind is always going, things can feel overwhelming, and you get, so of all of the things you have tried to regulate that part of yourself, how do you like, I mean, obviously yoga was it, you know, it was the main thing. There, I'm sure there's many other things you use and do, but how did you know that yoga was like, was like the way?
Sure. It's a great question. It's awareness, right? So I like to relate it to um, some of the stretches that we do. So when we reach through our side body, how does that actually feel? What does that feel like in your body? Can you articulate it to me? Describe to me in your physical being where you feel something. Or an even better one in Shavasana, my favorite asana. Well, besides a balancing half moon, but balancing a half moon is the best asana. Period. There's no
Amen.
question. It is the best.
We agree with
But
that here on the yoga chat.
Yeah, that is by far
listen, you could do
one of my
everything
faves.
from it. Balance, strength. You know, it's good. But the awareness. So in Shavasana, if you've ever been adjusted, really adjusted in Shavasana, and someone comes up and they lift the crown, the back of your head, and they extend you and they flatten you, or they grab your leg and they extend your ankle out and make you actually more flush with the ground so you can feel it. When you become aware of the different parts of your body and where they're actually touching on the mat and where they weren't before, that's what did it. I gained more awareness that I didn't have. I was like, man, I can actually see that. I can actually take control of that. It's like I do this thing where at the start of every class, I curl my fingers in and I go the opposite way. That's a neurological thing. Sometimes if you lose neurological ability, you can't go the opposite way, or you have problems, right? Because you're aware of your fingers. Can you curl your toes? Can you separate your toes or spread your toes out and have control and grip? I gained that ability. So when I went back, I'm like, man, I can do this. Man, I can do that. Man, I can do this too. Montana said at the beginning, I'm doing an arm balance and inversion workshop here coming up, and I love arm balances. You know, with no practice and I have no gymnastic background. All I've ever done is run, and I've played football, cross country, and football was only like for a month. That's the extent of my flexibility, training, whatever. There was somebody to the right of me, a gentleman and quiet guy, and I saw him doing crow, just a regular crow. And I tried and I fell out of it. And I was like, dude, that looks cool. Good job. Like I was proud of this guy in this dark room with all these people. I'm only in it like a week. And this guy's over here doing this thing. And I could tell it wasn't his best, but he did it. And at the end of class, I'm like, man, that was great. And he was a little off put because someone's coming up to him. But I was like, man, that's awesome. And in my head, I'm like, these other things I'm doing, I can do that too. I can do that. And not just me, but everybody can do that. Mm-hmm. And that was it. Like that, like the awareness of those things collected, and it made me aware of that. So I apologize if it's long-winded, but if I answered your question.
Don't apologize. I'm going to cut in here really quickly, because I think like what you just said is one of the reasons why I'll speak for both of us, why we love you so much and why we enjoy learning alongside you, is because what you just described, what I'm hearing is, listen to that conscious communication. What I'm hearing is
where is that book?
Yeah, that you, for example, is that like you utilize other people's successes as an opportunity to inspire you and empower you to find your own successes as well. And I have always prided myself on just innately loving collaboration. I think that it's the best way it's the only way forward. And I think that I think that the reason I'm bringing this up too right now in this conversation is because like, if I think of someone in their very first yoga class and they see someone doing down dog, right? It doesn't even have to be crow, but like down dog. And so often, because we're humans, we look at someone else and we're like, holy shit, like I'm never going to be like that. Blah, blah, blah. So it's like the power to recognize that in yourself, again, bringing back what you said about awareness. Like, it's not about being like, oh God, I'm doing something wrong because I'm comparing myself. No, that's fucking normal. It's like, oh, recognizing I'm comparing myself to someone instead of allowing myself to be inspired by them. And I just love that that's like your MO with everything that you do in life, which is just really inspiring.
Yeah, like instead of looking at that guy and being like, "I'll never be able to do that. I should just leave right now," which some people do. You looked at him and you were like, "I want to do that and I can do that." And you just
Yeah.
never even considered the alternative of like, "I can't. I never will. I should just give up." But I mean, not to say that I mean, some people get easily frustrated and like sometimes I bail on things when I don't think I'm going to be good at them, but what you're saying about all of it and what yoga I think has taught me is just like an overall confidence in who I am. It's not even like my physical strength. It's just confidence about like knowing myself. And when you have that confidence in knowing yourself, it's a lot harder to get discouraged and to feel not good enough. And I think that like I have a friend right now in my life who I've been dying to get into yoga. And, they're going through some stuff that requires some like self-confidence and some self-worth issues. And just in general, I was like, I know that I sound like a broken fucking record to you. And there's no way that I could ever describe it until you actually experience it for yourself. But the one way that I've overcome all of this with self-worth, with self-confidence is like, it's not even doing the yoga well. Like I don't do inversions. I can't hop into scorpion pose, but I still feel a level of pride and confidence and strength within who I am just from my yoga practice. And I don't even think, and it's not something I would have ever expected going into it. I went into it because of like anybody else. Like I was, like a 25-year-old girl. And I was like, I want yoga arms because Cosmo magazine tells me I'm going to have great looking arms if I do yoga. But it got to the point where it just became so much deeper than that. And I'm truly a different person. And I just, getting
She's
emotion even
emotional.
thinking about it and talking about it because it's so true. It's it's just creating a relationship with yourself. And I think a lot of times we all go through life for periods or maybe forever without really having a relationship with ourselves. And once you do, it just kind of like opens the door for so many other beautiful things.
Your beautiful
God
yoga
damn it,
arms. You have beautiful
Brad.
yoga arms.
Yeah.
I've seen them, girl.
Well, more importantly, I have a beautiful yoga brain now, which is like going to get me through life in a much deeper level than beautiful yoga arms. But yeah, I'll take the
Amen.
arms too.
Hey, May's
Um,
friend, come to yoga.
yeah.
Thanks.
Hey, May's friend, come to yoga.
May's confidential friend, come to fucking
The
yoga and quit being an
confidential
idiot.
friend named Carrie by chance?
No, it's not Carrie. I've gotten Carrie to go to yoga and she's like,
Cool.
Shavasana is boring.
She's like,
I can't lay there. It's like 5 fucking minutes.
Breathe.
It is
you
5 minutes.
actually need this if you can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of going back a little bit, but we've only had one other person on the podcast, Presley Gedman, excuse me, who did her teacher training at the Om Lounge, but we didn't really have time to chat about that. So I'd love to hear about your experience with Suzanne Nagel because I think the way that she teaches yoga is very unique. I haven't seen it taught like that in very many places. And I'd love to just like, share with our listeners what her kind of like mission and MO is in terms of
Yeah.
the way she teaches, why she teaches, and how she constructs her teacher training through that.
Sure. Presley, I know. Presley and I are friends. Presley and I, she finished the cohort before mine. And I took a bunch of her classes as well when she was coming out. She's a great person. So the Om Lounge, 200 hours. So you have to remember when I went in with nothing. I didn't know what I was doing. So imagine naming Virabhadrasana or Uttanasana or etc. I don't even know what you're saying half the time. You're cueing me to get in these postures, and I'm like, I gotta look at you.
I still don't know, honestly.
The Sanskrit's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's all asana. It's all ends in asana, but
which means movement. So great, we're moving.
It all sounds like Italian to me. Pusta Pascara Stristia. That's just how I hear it.
But sorry, I interrupted.
No, that's all right. Suze's style is extremely unique, and she has two studios, one in East Liberty, one in the Strip, and the style itself is Vinyasa Krama, and Vinyasa is linking breath to movement. The Krama is one breath per movement, right? Vinyasa is flow, Krama is one breath per movement. So we're linking movement with breath, and the purpose of Suze specifically is to develop an all levels class that is welcoming to any yogi, whether you're seasoned or not seasoned, whether you can use blocks or not use blocks, whether you have an injury or you don't have an injury. And, obviously I've only taken 200, but it's an immersive. So the class, the particular learning experience was in studio. It was 13 other teachers, as well as her staff. She has a kind of a pipeline of, I teach you, you teach here. I'll give you the platform to be able to enable you through community classes. And if that works out and we're on the same page, then let's see if we can fit you into the schedule and give you like a pipeline so that you can teach and learn and grow with them. It's very much, it's not that it's self-reliant or self-motivating or you have a group of people, studios open, but she wants you to connect. And it's not just, I don't want you to come here and be robots. I don't want you to have a specific structure. I don't want to play angelic music the entire time. Like that's not what it is. So I talk about this a lot. You usually check me on it, set and setting, right? It's about your space. It's about the flow. It's about how it feels in your body. So when I'm, one of her cues was always not that I'm a particularly fan of Drake, but like started from the bottom. Now you're here. When I'm cueing, I want to start from the bottom of cueing to the top. So she's blending she has 20 years of practice, right? I think she started Amazing Yoga or Yoga Flow, right?
Well, I don't know where she started, but that was she was at before the Om Lodge. Yeah.
She's got 20 years of practice, right? And those are both her studios. She's built them from the ground up. She's built the communities. She's invested a ton of herself into that product. It is a lot of Sue's. And before I get back, there's no class quite like a Sue's. There's no flow quite like a Sue's flow. She has what I call a gift. Like it's a gift. I've never walked out of more classes with a yoga high than after I've pushed myself in every single one of her classes. And by push myself, I mean, listen to myself. And pushing is sometimes holding back. Sometimes it's getting that bind or doing that headstand, handstand. So the classes are sequenced pretty much the same. You have a puttering, a down dog warm up, sun A's, and then 3 rounds with a peak posture at the end, and then shavasana or cool down. And the sequences are built to build upon themselves. It's always something that you're going to build on top of, right? You want to weave your dharma. So we have a reason that we're coming today. Everyone's reason is different. We want to ground in the same reason, at least get us on the same page. So whether that's through breath work, whether that's through some sort of poem, whether that's through a current event, let's ground. Let's talk about why we're here. And that theme is usually the theme woven throughout the class. Are we opening our heart and doing heart opening moves? So our warm-up's going to have heart opening. Our sun A's are going to have some sort of heart opening, etc. Couple that with the style of music and how the surrounding is there. Like the tone of the music and how that music flows through your class has to tie to the flow of your class. It has to link up. We've been through plenty of classes where it's the same sequence, the same 26 postures in a row. Every time you go, it's the same 26. That is not a Sue's close. That is not a Sue's class. There's something where you can merge your sequence, where even if you take the same Sue's class or any class, they're going to change it. We're going to go, it may have the same core framework, but we switch out some of the fixins and do a couple different asanas in there. And, I don't want to, I don't speak for Susan. I don't want to speak for her. I know she would have her own way to put it in her voice, but, she wants you to be welcomed. She wants you to feel like you belong. She wants you to be able to practice in the way that suits you. And she wants you to do it in her way, flowy, krama-y, and difficult. Because sometimes Susan will say, I'm going to kick your ass. That's what I want. You're here to get your ass kicked. You're here to sweat. It's a hot one today. We're opening the windows. Let's go. Right? Look at yourself. Look at everybody else. Then look back at yourself. Like it's that. And it's beautiful. It really is. It is. I think Montana, you said it to me once that I picked the right training for my personal style. I like heated vinyasa and power, and Om isn't necessarily that. It's vinyasa krama versus power. but the vinyasa krama is at the core of me. I want to dance. I want to feel good. I want that Mac Miller to come on and hitting it when I'm hitting Warrior 2 and I'm about to flow into balancing half moon. And I'm like, all right, I'm vibing with the song. I'm internal and I'm feeling good and strong, secure in my posture, secure in the asana and flowing. There's little bits of mini flows or micro flows that she's taught that where you do a series forward and reverses. I don't know if you're familiar with forward reverse. Like it's like a ladder sequence where you go 3 postures up and then you do the same three postures back or something like that. She does a lot of those, and it's so when you get those aligned and you're sequencing right, how you feel after class, you don't even realize it while you're practicing. It doesn't happen when you're practicing it. It happens on the drive home. It happens when you go out to eat with your friends and you're laughing. It happens when you get it home and you're like, man, I'm not even stressed anymore. I feel good. Dang, like it takes the mindfulness to like realize that, but that's what's actually doing. And the more that you do it and the more that you pay attention, the more mindful you are, it happens more frequently. And then you start to say, okay, well, what is that? Well, I don't go from Warrior 1 to Warrior 2. That sequence is it's an open to close hip asana. That's tough on your body. I make my flows where there's a transition between there. So I open to something else. I reverse. I then switch my feet. And when you build flows like that, which is exactly what Suze does, that's that gift. Coupled with everything else, she's really good at weaving everything together. That really is it. And to loop back, the 200 experience is it's approachable. I would, if anyone were to recommend me or ask me, should I take the 200? Absolutely. Her particular 200 with her 100%. You're going to learn something that, to your point, it's not anywhere else. It's not in this. It's a specific style. It is Suze's style, and it is there. You're not going to get it at Yoga 6. You're not going to get amazing yoga. You're not going to get a stray dog. It's an Om specialty.
I haven't experienced it anywhere else in the country. I'm not to say that not to say it doesn't exist, but like in my experience, I haven't ever seen it is one of a kind. I haven't been to a studio that teaches yoga like they do at the Om Lounge.
Yeah, Brad turned us all on to the Om Lounge, and I went to go try it out. And I think the first time I was there, Brad and Julie were both there. Or no, who was with me? I think it was Brad and Julie. But we went to the Om Lounge on a Sunday morning, and it wasn't power, but it was incredibly challenging. And the thing that I really enjoy about her particular class is that she's very clearly linked into the tradition of yoga, and she takes it very seriously, but she also is really lighthearted about it and can make it silly. And so like you're doing these really intense postures, but then you're dancing and then you're giggling, and then like, you're doing a lasso throw from Warrior 1 into like Skandasana at the back of your mat, and it's just like, what is even happening right now? But it's lighthearted and also very serious at the same time. And I just kind of like how she's able to blend very traditional like yoga with this silly dancey. I don't even know how to describe it, but I really enjoyed it.
It's krama. It's the krama.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, it's the purpose is to be you, right? It's to show up as you. Be you. Be goofy. Who cares? Spin around your mat, touch your toes, laugh about it. Yeah. Oops, that song was funny. What happened? Let's go. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
That's the point. That go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I just said presence.
Presence. Yes. Presence. Yeah. Exactly. Like you only have right now. Have fun.
It's presence, but also I've taken so many yoga classes in my lifetime where I didn't feel like that. I didn't feel like the instructor necessarily was encouraging me and maybe it's just because I run goofy and like I like silliness and I like lightheartedness, so I feel the most at home and present when I'm able to be a goofball. And so I equally, take yoga very seriously and know how much it means to me. So I just think, we talked about this in this episode with Lydia. There's a lot of noise about how yoga is supposed to be taught. And some people, and it's like religion, like everybody has different ways that they experience it. And some people like to just decide what's right and wrong for other people to experience it. So I I think that sometimes, it's been said that if you make a joke or do something silly that you're kind of like taking away from the gravity of what yoga is, or the ancient part of it. I don't know, but I like to go to teachers' classes where they can play the weird music, they can play the good music, they can make jokes, they can take it seriously, they can speak Sanskrit, and then they can also tell you to shake your ass, like all within the same 60 minutes of time. And that this person, Suzanne, is like a highly practiced teacher who's obviously created a beautiful thing. And she melds all of this into this one thing that, like, I don't know. I feel like over the years, me and Montana talk about this all the time. Not so much now, just because I feel more confident in how I like to teach, but I've felt like I've needed permission from like my elders, so to speak, on like the music I'm allowed to play, or the things I'm allowed to say, or how I'm allowed to transition one posture into another. So I just always like to see teachers who've been doing it a lot longer than I have, doing these things that, like, it gives me permission to practice and to feel the way I want to feel.
I think authenticity is contagious, and
Yeah, it is.
also it's polarizing because by being authentic, you're gonna automatically attract the people that are meant for you and attract your tribe. And that also might piss other people off. And that's okay, right? But I think everything that you're describing, the word that keeps coming back is authenticity. It's just like do your version of it with the utmost not necessarily confidence, but yeah, like being sure of who you are and doing that unapologetically. That's a word I'm looking for. And then giving space for everyone else to do that too.
Yeah. I
And
feel like I've always kind of done that, but I've also questioned it at times. But now going through the 300-hour, I feel like the more information and the more knowledge I have, the more it gives me permission to just fucking do it the way I
figure
want to
out
do it.
your way of doing it. So that's a good
Exactly.
segue. Brad, I'd love to hear what you think. Like, if there's a teacher, a 200-hour certified teacher listening to this, and they're like, why would I do a 300-hour? Like, what's the point of that? What would you
Mhm.
say to them?
There's a stark difference between a 200 and a 300. And that's in a 300, you're with a group of seasoned teachers that want to be there, that are there because they've been teaching or have already taken a little bit of a leap and know what they're doing. A 200 is more, it can be a little, some of these people you're never going to see again. They came, they saw, they left, right? Yoga has this thing that a little transient with people. They come and they go. They think they want to do it and they don't know. Everybody in a 300 knows. Every single person here is someone that you can learn from. You can, like, not that you can't learn from people in a 200, but it's a different type of learning. It's a different level of experience. It's like if you wanted to be a chef and you had Gordon Ramsay and every single famous chef, Bobby Flay, Guy Ferrari, whoever, and you had them all in there. You can go in there and say, hey, I want to learn. I'm learning how to cook too. I cook at home, and they're there for you as a resource to you, as your cohort. That's who you're learning with. It's not so much about the data, right? It's not so much about learning it is, you learn about the specifics, and you should, and you will, but you can always go to Google and search that information. You can always come back and get it. What you don't get, or what you if you don't recognize it, you lose it. In that 300, you have those people. Use those people. That it's the Bobby Flay, it's the Guy Ferrari, it's the people there. It's the if Martha Stewart, she still cook, I'm pretty sure, with Snoop probably.
Yeah.
But it's that's what it is. So if you're thinking about doing a 200 and you love yoga and you're like, man, I want to get better at teaching, I want to get better at sequencing, I want to understand more, but I also want to learn. It's not it. I would 100% recommend it, but I wouldn't be looking at the documentation that's given to you. I would be looking at the group that I'm with, the people that I'm with. Who's training me? Who is training me? Can I see what your structure is? And then the next thing is who's going to be there with me? Because if I go to that room and it's a bunch of it's kids cooking on a plastic stove and they're not actually cooking anything, they're just flipping plastic burgers. I can learn from them in a different way, but not in the way that I want. this isn't the way that I want. You're all experts. I don't tell you guys directly all the time, but I learned from all of you, and every single one of you in our particular 300. I've learned something from all of you. Maybe I haven't told you yet. Maybe I have told you, or some of you. I'm learning from you as much as you're learning from me. Um, and so that's the difference. It's that the company you keep, the company you learn with, is how you grow.
You
I
and I
learned.
and Leah talk about that a lot in our mentor group. We just talked about that the information is obviously spectacular, but the discussions and the tangents that come out of that information is what really makes it all land. Um, I don't learn so well looking at a screen and taking down notes and looking at bullet points, but like some of the information that has been presented to me on the screen that I didn't even know I absorbed, I'm somehow putting into a class 3 months later without even knowing how well it landed, and I truly think it's because of the way we've discussed it, the collaboration, like, when we get to break off into small groups and build sequences together or talk about anything, like, something about the way this is structured. It's not just the information that's being fed to me, it's the way that we get to dive into it has what it's done a lot for me in my
Like,
teaching.
and like Brad said, like, because you can Google this information.
Always.
And yeah, like I just want to point out too that even as a facilitator, like facilitating a 200-hour is more so like exactly what Brad just described, right? Like it's like we're teaching something to someone, to a group of people that is this is brand new information to them. And so it's more like there's a more distinct divide between the facilitator and the trainees. Whereas in a 300-hour, I'm there literally to provide the information and to make sure that we're on time. And other than that, like it is cyclical. It is I am learning from every single trainee just as much, if not more, than they're learning from me. And I went through this training before I facilitated it twice, once virtually and once in person. And my ability to understand the material now, facilitating it, is far surpassed what I understood, how I understood it when I was a trainee. So that just goes to show that like the facilitator of a 200-hour should probably know best, with lack of a better term. The facilitator of a 300 should never know best. And I think that if you're looking for a 300-hour teacher training, at least for me, like that's something that I had in mind. Like if it's a facilitator is telling me like I know best, learn from me, that's different than like, hey, I know what I know and you know what you know. Let's exactly the opposite of the juice. Let's get in this sandbox and play the fuck around and fuck around till we find out, essentially. So yeah, that was a really, really awesome answer. And I hope that it inspires anyone that's on the fence to dive into a 300-hour, regardless of what the program is. I mean, I'm ready to do I'm next year when I'm not facilitating a 300-hour, I want to participate in one because exactly what you just said, Brad. Like I could go through the Yoga 6 300-hour again as a trainee. It's not the one I'm going to sign up for, but just to drill my point across. I could literally sign up for the next round of the 300-hour that's led by Valerie Unigro, who was on the podcast, and experience it totally differently, be totally different because of the group. The group
Mhm.
will be different, so the training will be different. And that just excites me a lot. So I loved your answer. May, what were you gonna say?
Also, if you allow it to, like if you like anything in life or any growth, you have to be open to the idea that you can learn from other people and you have to listen and be humble and know that you don't know everything. And I think, that to me has been great because I feel like our group, we all walk in with this like we're all seasoned teachers, like Brad said. We all have taught so many classes or gone through so many trainings. But I think the best part is that most of us are just like completely open to the idea that we don't know shit while we know what we know. Like we know plenty, but we also don't know shit. And so the ability to have these conversations where nobody's like, we're here and we already know everything. And like you can't learn, you can't grow if you already think you're at the top of your game. And I think that's what I love about our group is that everybody is open to the idea of like we don't know shit. And I think that's when you're at the best place to learn.
Yeah. I also love to be proven wrong, and I didn't used to be that way. And I think going through the 300-hour really helped me learn the value of that.
Yeah.
And so anywhere in my life now, when I can have a belief or like this structured idea in my mind that someone presents to me in a different way and proves me wrong, like that gasses me up. That I get so excited. I'm like, holy fuck, because that's like a little part of my brain that thought that it had like created this boundary that now has been popped like a bubble. And it's like, whoo, the possibilities are endless. And that's really exciting and
That's
scary.
also the yoga. The
Yeah.
yoga is like you're confident enough to know you don't know everything, and it's okay. And it opens, like you said, those are like a million little bubbles in your head pop every time you practice in a million different ways because you learned something new that you thought you already knew. And then you're like, "Oh shit, there's not any time in my life where I'm going to know fucking everything about this one thing or I'm going to know everything about my body." Like there's something new every single time. And I personally really think that yoga just gives you the confidence to be humble because being humble requires confidence. Because if you're just like, I know everything and nothing can shake me and blah, 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 then you're fucking full of shit. And you need to practice more yoga because that's not the case. I think being confident is being humble and being open. And yoga is just that, like the catalyst for all of that.
Always a student. Always a student.
Yeah. Bingo.
Right?
There, the hot pepper mill. Boom.
So Brad, the last question we always ask everyone is
Are you
somehow,
single?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always ask
You
everyone.
single ladies.
My signs are Virgo, Cap, Leo.
Leo.
Oh, Leo. Oh, there's the
But
fiery part.
And the like aesthetic, like the Virgo, Capricorn, Leo, no wonder you're attractive.
hodgepodge, they just put it all in a
I
pot
mean,
and said, "Let's
because
go."
it's like the Virgo and the Capricorn, you probably like I very rarely like you probably shave every morning. You
Not
probably
today,
take
for
a
once.
shower the exact same way every single time.
Yeah,
And then the
that's
Leo
right.
makes you be like, and I'm gonna wear my aloe hat and look fucking good.
Uh-huh. That's right.
All right, so two things.
Pressed.
Do the eyebrow thing. Can you show
Oh
us the
yeah,
eyebrow
Oh wait,
thing?
the
I
eyebrow.
don't know if I have a bill. I don't have a dollar around me. Well, maybe I do. Hold on one second. Yeah,
If
give me
you
1 second.
don't, it's
No,
okay.
I do.
Okay,
Give me a second.
yeah.
Here.
He's
Here he is. Holy shit, you really can.
Wait, Brad, talk. You have to talk so that we can get this green around your thing.
What do you mean? Oh, this. So I could take it off. Right. There's not a bill. This is just my forehead. Right. I look. I've been furrowing my brow my entire life. Right. So we could take a dollar bill. It's just a regular dollar bill, and then I just put it in a crease. Right. And squeeze it, and I'm holding it there. You said it's a fun fact,
Oh my
right? That
God.
Again, he's single, ladies. You
Yeah.
better not get any Botox or your fun fact is going to
I
be
was just gonna
shit.
it's
say
real.
he's single and he's natural. If you had
He's all
Botox, you wouldn't be able
natural.
to do that.
Yeah, you definitely
Although
won't.
I've never noticed wrinkles in his face, so
That's because I'm
Also,
always
if you
wearing a
come
hat,
to his
right?
inversion workshop, he may touch you. Just gonna throw it out there. He may have he may
Maybe
have
I'll
to touch
whisper
you.
something in your ear.
oh
You're doing
my
a great
God.
job.
No, when May and I were in that class, I was whispering, "Your hand's fucked up. Like, move your hand."
Your
Well,
hands.
no, every time I practice next to Brad now, I'm like, you're fucking it up.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing it wrong.
God, I can smell you from over here.
Hits are disgusting.
Thank you.
This is how we became friends. We're the
We're
same
awesome.
kind of weird.
I was gonna say the same.
It's the same.
So the last question, but I'm glad you've reminded us of that, May. The last question we always ask everyone, do you think yoga can change the world? Yes or no, and why?
Ooh. That's a very tough question.
We've had every answer under the sun, so
We really have.
I've listened. The Chloe was last week. No, it's a tough question, and it can't change the world, but it can change you, and then you can change the world. So through transitive, we want to talk transitive property. Yes, truly though, you're changing you, and you're not changing you as a physical being. You're changing that soul, that channel we were talking about the other day. That channel, you're getting to that channel where you can see other people. When you start to see yourself, you can start to see other people. And when you start to see other people, you can change. When you're in control of you and you're not on autopilot, we have this thing called our monkey brain where if you've ever driven somewhere and you got to your destination, but you don't remember the entire drive there because you were on autopilot every day, right? That's that monkey brain. I'm not present. I'm not being mindful. I don't know what's going on. Someone could have hit me in the leg, nothing, right? Yoga gives you the presence. And with that presence gives you control. And with that control gives you the ability, or it enhances your ability to change. And when you change and you live the way you want, be the change you want to see, you get to be it. And when you be the change you want to be, the world can change. So yes, it can through a transitive property, but it starts with you. It starts with being here. And guess what? It starts with doing it right now.
That's the juice.
Yeah.
Do it. For all you people avoiding it, do it.
It's with the channels, it reminds me of that Ram Dass archived video that you sent me on Instagram. And he talks about like channel 1 is like seeing bodies, tall, short, big, little, black, white, whatever. Channel 2 is seeing personalities and like job titles, right? Like CEO, manic, funny, boisterous, shy, whatever. Channel 3, which I love that he brought this up. He's like, then you start seeing people's astrology signs.
The mythological.
Yeah. And he's like, then channel 4, that one's not as easy for me to describe, but essentially you start seeing everyone as the same energy. And then like you can take it even deeper, and then you start just seeing yourself in everyone. And I really, truly believe the only way to do that is through yoga, not through a downward facing dog, through the practice of sitting with yourself, like you just said, being in the present moment, slowing it down. And that is the yoga, not warrior 2. The warrior 2 is just a means to get there.
I'm a believer.
Yeah. Same. And if you made it this far in the episode, you're a believer too. I just said believer.
I hope you're all believers, at least if not now, someday.
Yeah, same. Well, Brad, tell everyone where they can find you on the interwebs.
And how to sign up for your workshop that you're going to touch them at.
So you can find me on Instagram at Cheduranga. That's CHEDURANGA. I'm there all the time. Good luck not catching me. You can find me practicing primarily Stray Dog in Wexford, Ohm Lounge, Strip, East Liberty, Yoga 6 South Hills, maybe Cranberry, maybe Wexford. No class no teaching right now, but I'm using this opportunity here to kickstart teaching on a more regular basis with the workshop that will be at Yoga 6 South Hills. You can visit yoga6_South Hills for more information about that, or stop by there. I believe there's going to be flyers at some point if there isn't already. And you can find me there. Always open to a chat. I love talking yoga. So anytime, anywhere.
Clearly he's a yoga nerd. So
I'm gonna put you in an arm balance and a headstand, and you better be ready, because I'm gonna be like, look, you can do it.
Hell yeah. All right.
Better be ready.
Cool.
Right now.
Right now, flip. Well,
right
thank
now.
you so much, you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Echet, it was an awesome opportunity getting to have you here, an honor for sure. Your light and your passion is contagious and infectious. So thanks for being you. Keep doing what you're doing, and I can't wait to see where we all go.
I appreciate both of you. Thank you, guys.
Wherever it is, ladies. I have a feeling we might be going into the same place. We might be going in the same direction.
Are you going to whisper something in my ear?
May, when May said that, like, I guarantee, May, you're talking about like someplace here on earth. I literally was just like, we're all going to heaven.
Yoga heaven. Yeah, we'll all go to Shavasana together, which is yoga heaven. So yes, we'll all be going somewhere together. And I'm going to tell Brad he's doing it wrong while we're doing it.
As long as there's Brad braid, I'm good. I'll be fine.
Yeah, bring the braid. Also, he bakes, ladies. He bakes.
Oh my God, the best bread I've ever had, ever.
Yep.
Ever.
Appreciate that.
All right. Well, with that said, follow him on Instagram and slide in his DMs because he's single, like we said. Okay, bye.
See you guys.
Bye.